Alright, so this one is going to be the introduction to our wellness series. So this is going to be my sleeping drop, so let's go ahead and dive right into it. So for this series, I'm going to be kind of breaking down what I feel from my research has been the most important to least important, or not necessarily least important, but just kind of going in order, giving you like a breakdown of where to get started and then what to be focusing on throughout it. This is going to be more of like an in-depth series, so if you're not necessarily looking to like learn the information and maybe just like applying it, then definitely check out my Instagram or direct message me for like actual breakdowns on what to do to get the product if you're not necessarily looking to do the research. So getting started on it, I want to go ahead and dive into some of the benefits and implications for sleep, and then go ahead and dive into how we can optimize it, and then go ahead and dive into just kind of some more in-depth information with it. So let's go ahead and get started with it. I know a lot of people say that sleeping is important and it could be damaging to your health if you don't do it, but like, do you know exactly what it could be doing though? So I'm just gonna give you a few bullet points, so when you go to bed at night, you can say it to your mantra, you can just put it in your brain. There's a few things, it's like 3 or 4 things. So when we sleep less, that's gonna be messing up our like regulation. So when we go to bed the next night, we're gonna be sleeping even less. So it's just like it's like a compounded effect. You mess up once, you keep messing up. It's like a habit. It's a bad habit that you need to break. So that's gonna be one of the points for it. Next point, it could lead to depression. So there's a lot of effects, and we'll go in more depth with each and one of these, but depression could be another cause. Another one is obesity. So another one is going to be low energy and poor cognizance during the day. So we'll go ahead and dive into each one and kind of break down how it could be leading to it, how you could avoid it. I had to take some headphones too. Alright, so let's go ahead into diving into how to optimize sleep. So before we do that, we kind of need to analyze and understand what sleep is. So let's go ahead and start by understanding the cycle for it. So there's going to be a few parts of sleep. We have our alpha. So basically, before I kind of get into that, I want to describe to you what it is. So we have different brain waves that we kind of send out during our sleep. So this is going to be like the frequency that our brain is on during each stage of it. So we have our alpha, beta, theta, delta, and REM part of sleep. REM is what a lot of people say is like our deep sleep. This is what a lot of people describe to be like the most important one, but there's really no way to know that you're getting in your REM cycle. So the only way to do that is to kind of take the precautions and just be sure that you actually are hitting it by involving all these tips, so that when you do wake up in the morning and you feel good, then you can kind of know, oh, maybe I've gotten all my cycles. So let's go ahead and dive into it so you can tell the best way that you do feel good. So diving a little bit more into it, so we're gonna get more in depth with our theta, delta, and REM sleep cycles, and this is where we're gonna be focusing a little bit more into, in contrast to the alpha and beta. So our theta one is gonna be where we're gonna be having the most, like our dream state. So this is where we're gonna be having a lot of images popping into our head. And then we have and then delta is going to be more of like a regenerative state. So same with delta and REM sleep. These are both going to be like recovering states. This is when we're going to be regulating our hormones. This is when we're going to be having the most human growth hormone production and regulation. So these are kind of like the most important states for actually getting the brain fixed. So throughout all your day, you get this kind of metabolic buildup. So when we sleep, we're able to process all that stuff and bring it into our waste. And there's a few more ways that we're going to be diving into actually how to rid ourselves of the waste. After I have this all like mapped out so I don't go in like big gibberish, and I think I'm going to put where is that? Like right here on how to like follow along. So I'll put like a little bar here, and then I'll be able to put like little squares to follow along with it, so I just don't go in one big blab. So I kind of want to dive a little bit more into differentiating the data and REM cycle. So they're both going to be regenerative like we were saying, but it's not necessarily one way is better than the other. It's kind of like asking, if you're getting a certain part of your sleep, would you rather have your legs or your arms? You'd rather have them both, right? Same with the sleep. You don't want to just choose one. And most likely you're not getting in the REM cycle if you're not getting in the delta cycle. You need to be getting in the full cycle of sleep, and we're just going to describe to you how to actually do that to the best of your ability. So one other part of this cycle is about how long it takes approximately. So when we actually go through these cycles a couple times throughout our sleep, this is why we go through like hours and hours of sleep. It actually only takes like 90 to 120 minutes for the first cycle, and this is going to be the most effective one, the biggest bang for your buck. So making sure that if you are only sleeping 120 minutes or 90 minutes, that you're doing it in a constant cycle, so you're not switching it up or letting your body get confused on when you're going to be doing this. So one of the biggest things that getting into the actual sleep cycle is going to be is your melatonin release. So there's a couple things that we'll bring up later on that's going to be how to increase the amount of melatonin that you can be producing during the day so that you can release it at night, and having that in sync with your like internal time clock, so that when it does come time and it's night and you put away your phone and you follow all the tips, that will be able to get dumped out, and then you'll be able to fall into your like biggest cycle, the most important one. So making sure that when you do feel that first onset of sleepiness, that you take the advantage and you just throw yourself on the bed, even if you're in the middle of Modern Warfare or Rainbow Six Siege or on your phone doing your night thing, scrolling through Instagram. Just throw your phone down and pass out as soon as you possibly can. Don't try and avoid that first wave of tiredness. It's a good thing that you get that. And especially if you can get it in like a good time where you're not busy at the moment, take the advantage, okay? Alright, so for the next part, this is going to be sleeping schedule. So for a normal person, about a sleep schedule from 10 to 7. Is that like 8 hours? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, it's 9 hours, I think. But so on a sleeping schedule from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m., the most anabolic part of that sleep cycle is going to be from 10 to 2. So I want you to be taking advantage to the earlier part of your sleep, so not towards the very, very end. There's a big misconception that because our delta and our REM cycle comes in a little bit later during our sleep, but it comes in cycles. So it's going to be happening every 60, 120, 2 hours. The max time would be like a 2-hour cycle, and you go ahead and reset. So a lot of people, I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's called like polymorphic sleep schedules. So that's when people take like 2-hour sleeps or 4-hour sleeps at night, and then during the day they take like 15, or no, was it like one sleep schedule? So it would be like 60 minutes, I believe. They take like really short, not naps, but like part sleep. It's kind of strange, but some people do it. I know, like, what's his name? There's some really old people, like, Nikola Tesla, the really old scientist. He did that, and I know a couple other crazy old guys. I was doing my research and I stumbled across that when I was doing the sleep research, but they were doing that. We're not going to be getting into all that crazy scientist stuff today, so we're going to be diving into a normal person. From 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. to 2 p.m. I want you to be taking advantage of it more towards the earlier part of the sleep, not the late part. We're not focusing on the late part, we're focusing on the earlier part. So to really emphasize that part again, get it in as soon as you start to feel sleepy. Let's get into the next part. Alright, so another important part of that would be not necessarily sleeping the full 8 hours, right? We're gonna be getting the most effect in from 10 to 2. That's about half. Yeah, that's about half. 10, 11, 12, 1. That's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, 10 to 2. So half part of your sleep would be the most important one. Take advantage. Alright, so next point, we're gonna go ahead and dive into a few tips so that you can be optimizing the sleep schedule. So, first point. For the first tip, I want you guys to be exercising in the morning so that our levels of cortisol, so our stress hormone, is going to be increasing during the daytime so that we can have that taper off more towards night, so that when we do reach our peak point of sleepiness, how can I rephrase this better? I feel like I'm sucking at it. So I keep going like not in order. I need to like get all the info out first. That's why I'm like following along down here. So cortisol is going to be a stress hormone. This is going to be like a blocker to our melatonin. There's just like some. Okay, so we have our cortisol here, and this is melatonin. If we bring our cortisol levels from the very, very start, it starts to weaken off more towards later in the day. So when we reach our nighttime peak of melatonin, that can get launched, and then this won't be blocking it. If we bring our cortisol up to here, and our melatonin release should be here, it's going to be blocking it off, and we're not going to be getting that really good like sleeping wave that we want to be hitting. Remember how we said right at 10 o'clock when you start to get that wave, you just take advantage of it. This is going to be counterproductive to that. So exercising more towards the day, this doesn't just apply to your exercise. So cortisol, it doesn't know the difference between like a physical stress and an emotional stress or a mental stress. So if you have a job and you can adjust the times, if you are stressed out with your job, push that more towards the morning time. Try and get in morning hours. Try and get your exercise in the morning. Deal with all your family stuff in the morning. Deal with all your crazy friend stuff in the morning, so that when it does come nighttime, that's your sleep time. I want you to be trying to lower these levels about, like, it depends when you go to sleep, but try and get all that stuff out of the way as early as possible so that more towards the afternoon part of your day is very relaxing and non-stressful. Best way to put it. So, next point to it, for increasing the melatonin production. So with this one is going to be cuddling. So when we actually cuddle, we're going to be getting a larger increase of serotonin. So this is going to be a precursor to melatonin. So you get serotonin when we cuddle, and then that can be converted to melatonin for nighttime. So it's going to be helping us sleep. So oftentimes when after you cuddle or while you're cuddling, you start to feel drowsy. That's because maybe because you're in bed, but oftentimes that's just one of the causes. It's just a precursor to it, and that's actually going to be the same with. That's going to be the same with getting adequate sunlight. So just like with the cuddling, literally plopping on your bed. So this is going to be another one. Literally just getting adequate sunlight to the skin and eyeballs so that it can actually be hitting your eyeballs, not burning your corneas, but just making sure that they are exposed to it. So whether it be while you're driving without tint, if you have tint, roll the windows down. The UV rays are going to be blocked by the actual tint. Hashtag tint gang, bro. I roll all my windows down and blast my Ghost main music. So literally sleeping, and all these tips are super easy and applicable if you just can remember them and actually apply them. The picture is so crooked. Alright, so getting to the next one. So that's going to be the same reason. I don't know if I mentioned it. Serotonin production from actually getting onto your skin and eyeballs. So let's go ahead and get into the next one. So these are going to be some of the small applicable tips. So sleeping in darkness. So just like we were talking about with some of the things that are going to be influencing the release of melatonin, with our DNA, we've just adapted to have a melatonin release, not necessarily just at night, but not necessarily because we're done with our day, but because it's nighttime. So if you work in a dark office, you can still sometimes just get sleepy, even though your sleep schedule is on point. Or not in an office, like if you can see the night, then oftentimes you will just get tired because you are seeing that night. So grave shifts aren't necessarily the best unless your body or your brain is just adapted that way. So through time, a lot of different people, this is just getting into like more backstory with like people's DNA. So some people just happen to sleep later in the day or maybe at night. It's how some ancestors lived. I was reading an article and they were saying how like back in the day how we would need someone to watch over camp while others would sleep. That still works to this day. Like we still have people working grave shifts at like Winco, 24-hour fitness, Planet Fitness. We have people working grave everywhere. They have grave jobs everywhere you go. So that's just how stuff has evolved. We still maintain that, and we still have people sleeping during the day to this day. So that is one of the things that you need to be taking into account. Sleeping in darkness. Next point. Removing blue light. So we've all heard about this stuff before. You know how your iPhone has a hey Google, lower the volume 1 point. Thank you. So you know how the iPhones have a night mode? So this is actually going to be putting on a filter to block out the blue light. So this is going to be a signal to our brain to actually be bringing down the levels of cortisol when we keep that blue light off for about an hour to 30 minutes before sleep, so that we can actually be getting that release in. So just like we were saying with the stress hormone, cortisol, the stress hormone, we want to be having it before we get our wave, so 10 p.m. or whenever you first start to fall asleep. When you get that wave, time it. Just figure out when you have that release. When your sleep schedule is, find out when you start to get tired so that you can be basing your sleep around that specific time. So sleeping in darkness, try and go outside or see that it's dark outside just so you can interpret it in your brain. Removing blue light, so adding on that night mode filter to your iPhone. Next one, I almost forgot. So this is a follow-up to the point where we were discussing how there's going to be a lot of metabolic buildup throughout our sleep, because we're going to be asleep for 8 hours. There's a lot of stuff going on through our body where we're filtering it out. This is going to be like a recovering state. So when we're just sitting there for 8 hours, we're going to have a lot of elimination to be needing to do. So when we wake up in the morning, trying to get in about 20 to 30 ounces of water, and I'll be discussing in my later topics on hydration and water quality, on actually how the quality of water can actually affect your hydration. So trying to get in 20 to 30 ounces of water, I think that's just like a hydro flask. If you can knock half that back, go to the bathroom, do some morning stretches, go on a little walk, take the dog out, bring the little water bottle around, knock it back. It's just going to be helping initiate the process of peeing and pooping it out. So, and you can actually tell, so when we're actually waking up in the morning, if you just go to the bathroom right away, you can actually see that your urine is much more concentrated in the very early morning. So if you want to test that out. So aside from helping our bodies stimulate our bowel movements, that's all I have. I thought I had a little bit more, but that's all I had for today. So to recap, sleep is not something that we should be avoiding. Sleep is for the strong. Sleep is not for the weak. Yeah, if I said that right. So again, hashtag no sleep gang is dead. Sleep better. That's how we're gonna put it. All right. So no more Snapchat filters. I don't want to see them in the middle of the night say hashtag no sleep gang. Try and get that stuff in. You guys have some tips that you can be applying now. If you guys actually try them out within these next coming few days, try and drop it below next week. Come back again, rewatch my next episode. Tell me how the sleep one worked for you, and we'll just keep on going. I want to try and like build a community and see it in the comments or my Instagrams that you guys are actually doing it. And what you can actually even do is send me a DM on Instagram, and then I can literally like post like, and then put a caption under it, be like, I slept for 4 hours and like felt like crap. Now I'm sleeping like 3 hours and feeling even better than I ever have because my schedule is so crazy. Just applying these tips, like I want to see stuff like that. So if you guys are interested, shoot me a text. If you have any other topics, once I finish up this series and it's not already included in it, then I can go ahead and start on that, doing some research. If I'm not familiar with the background, I'll just go ahead and do research and put out a big topic like this. Anyway guys, hope you enjoy the video. Please leave a thumbs up and subscribe. Keep tuned. I'm going to be posting stuff on my Instagram, Snapchat, and YouTube. Just keep posted guys. Hope to see you guys in the next video.